Everyone's like, oh, look, here comes Pensy Joe bringing the Pennsylvania stuff because really test the LED in the headlight, but we'll take this quite well by all. Regular combination, she's all that Sheet at 10. Proceed to 15. Hey everybody, this is Pensy Joe back again for another TCS WOW install video, and today we're going to be doing something rather different. This is an Athearn Genesis P42DC. This is DCC ready. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the board and the dummy DC board out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in place this TCS WOW Athearn specific board and the 21 pin board. This board also comes with Keep Alive on the bottom, so that's pretty cool. I've also got a single speaker kit that comes along with it as well. So this will go one under here rather than over here. You can put two speakers in this thing. So if I wanted to, I can get another speaker like this and install it in the front if I wanted to, and add more speakers to the model, which would be pretty cool. But I think one speaker is just fine. You don't really need two, but it's cool that they give you two for this particular model. So yeah, there's only two screws. There's one on each side that holds the shell right around here. There's two pieces of tape that really hold down this. Obviously, it's got a clip to hold this board in place, and there's a lot of room under here to put for those capacitors to hide under. So this will be definitely a better model for sure when it's in operation. So the challenge for this is that this is a little bit different than normal. I'll have to figure out which one controls the individual lights for pretty much the front. I gotta figure out how it does the marker light that's in the front, and the wire that does the marker lights for the rear. And what I'm going to try and do is do the marker lights for the front of the locomotive. So when the locomotive is moving forward, I want the rear marker lights to turn on with the headlight. So I'm going to do something about that. And really, I'm going to try and figure out if there's individual wires for each LED for the ditch lights, so that I can have them to flash when I press the horn. And I'll get into the basics on how that's going to be done. Anyways, without further ado, I'm going to start taking this board out and unsoldering stuff. And before I really do that, I'm going to try and figure out where each of these wires are. So I'll let you guys know once I'm able to see what those boards are like and figure out where each wire goes to. Alrighty, so first things first is I remove the board. It just uses a clip that holds this in place. Now there's a lot of space for the flywheels to move around. Sorry if it's not focusing, but you can see under here, even though there's no light, those capacitors don't even touch the motor. They also don't even touch the flywheels. So that's pretty cool that the capacitors can be just attached like that. I wish that when Athearn does these regular motherboards, you just add capacitors. Now you don't really normally need capacitors for a diesel locomotive of this size, but it's always good to have that extra precaution for capacitance in case there is an issue. So this model will keep chugging along once it's in operation. The first thing I did is I took off the positive and the motor minus wires. So I'm going to solder those to this board as the first thing. So we got, obviously it's not gray, and we're going to look at this diagram. So this is a Gem MB1 motherboard, mainly for Athearn models, specifically, models that have this clipboard inside of them. Obviously, it fits inside the GE P42DC, which I know they don't officially have a kit that goes for the GE P42DC, although it already fits. It fits with no issues whatsoever. So, no biggie. And obviously I can put these tapes back down once I'm done, so it'll keep it nice and secure in place. can also use Kapton tape if I want to. But yeah, so if we look at here, obviously we're going to, I don't know why this is backwards, but it's kind of flipped. This would be motor plus and motor minus, but this kind of shows what this board is all about. These are going to be for LEDs. And here's which side tells you where the bulbs are. So the bulbs are going to be on the left side or on the right side, depending. So you have two pads. If your model is an older Athearn Genesis model or something like that, they might have bulbs in them. Now this model is completely LED, so I don't really have to worry about all that stuff going on. It's not a huge biggie for me. Now all the positive wires for LEDs and stuff like that, they can go on to this pad or this 12-volt pad right here. So, you don't have to really necessarily worry about that. Obviously, there are capacitors on board for this. So if I can quickly take this off without, messing with it, there should be capacitors on the back side around here, or resistors. So there's some onboard resistors on here to pretty much, protect your LEDs. So you don't really need to do 1,000 ohm resistor on here. You can if you want to, but you don't really necessarily have to with these kits right here. They don't really they already have an inbuilt resistance inside them. So you don't really have to worry about putting anything like that on there. So unless you do burn something, you're going to have to contact Athearn in case anything happens. But I think everything should be okay. Usually these kits, I've installed a kit like this before for a Bowser model, and no LEDs have popped. So they already have inbuilt resistance, nothing to worry about there. So we obviously got our speaker wires that will be last. My main concern is doing the LEDs for the headlight. So, really for the marker light. Well, not really the marker lights. I'm sorry, the ditch lights. There we go. There's my terminology now corrected. So those lights are going to be on the bottom. If you look in front of the model, they're the lights that are on the bottom where the red line is. Those two lights there, if it's not focusing correctly. And then the marker lights are above that. The marker lights should be one wire. I'm not too 100% sure which one those are, so I'll probably test around by putting the wires down and figuring out from there which one does which. It's pretty clear on the board what the headlights and rear lights do. So what I'm going to do is probably do the rear LED. I'm going to try and figure out which one is the front headlight. And when I do that, that'll be great. And then which one I figure out to do the marker lights, I'll do it perspective of which direction the locomotive is moving. If this headlight's turning on, these marker lights are turning on for reverse. Because it makes sense. Obviously in operation, you can turn them on and off. It's just that they're directional, and to do it directional, you can. I'll figure something out. But I wanted to make it simple. Usually when I have the headlight on, I usually want the rear marker lights on, and vice versa when it goes in reverse, because it makes sense. And I don't want it to turn on too many individual function numbers and stuff. And I know some people know that in real life you can have the marker lights turn on and off separately, which is understandable. I just like to do things a certain way, so that's how I'm going to do them. Anyways, looking back at here, there's a lot more LEDs on these bigger TCS WOW kits. They're around $230, $240. But considering that I got this for around $170, to do a DCC ready model, you're pretty much paying around the same, value for a DCC sound model. So with that out of the way, it doesn't really matter. All you have to do is really just put in the work to put in your own, to put in the kit. Some people don't like that. That's okay. There's a reason why I pre-ordered 4 P42s, so I can do kits like these. And I'm probably going to buy another kit just like this for my other 3 Phase 4 P42DCs, so I can pull my Silver Star train. And yeah, without further ado, we're going to continue doing hard wiring, and then I'm going to go downstairs and test it and show you how it works. Alrighty, so I got the headlight and rear marker lights for the forward LED ground. I got the positives, 2 positives for the forward LED. I got the rear positives for the rear LEDs. I've also got the rear LED headlights soldered as well. The more fun part now is to figure out which one is the forward or reverse marker lights. I have to figure out which one's the rear marker lights. So we have 4 more wires, and they are a white wire. We got another 2 black wires, and we got a blue wire. So one of them actually does the number board up front. One of them does the front marker lights, and 2 of them must be doing the ditch lights. Now, considering these are color-coded, I'd have a hunch that the ditch lights are these 2 black wires for each individual LED, and the white wire either does the marker lights or it does the the number board. So there are around like 6 LEDs in the front, which is pretty insane, and there's only 3 in the rear. The rear number boards don't light up as far as I know, so that's kind of interesting, but it is what it is. So this is where I'm going to start experimenting around to see which wires are which. Although I have a good idea what these 2 black wires are probably, so I'm going to put them respectfully as number 3 and number 4 for LEDs. And then what I'm going to do is just choose one. One of them is going to be, I'm going to figure out which one's their rear marker light. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just solder it for the rear headlights, so when the locomotive goes in reverse, the front marker lights will turn on as the locomotive reverses. So it shows the design as if the train's going in reverse. It will show the marker lights where the cab is. So I think this is not going to be as hard as I thought it was going to be. I don't think it was going to be difficult. All you have to do is just read the normal DCC ready board, the motherboard first, before you start doing anything. Just read this and then read this diagram. And obviously you're going to want the motor plus and minus first, and then you're going to want to do the right rail and left rail pickup wires as well. And once you get those out of the way, it really gets easier and easier as you go on. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem for sure. So all that's left really is just doing the rest of the wires, and I'll get back to you guys once I test it downstairs. Hey everybody, here we are back in the basement, and here it is. Here is my Athearn Genesis P42DC number 160 in the Pepsi scheme, all ready to go. As you can see, the LEDs are working. Although in real life, I don't know why, but there might be some light bleed up until the marker lights. In the rear of the locomotive, there is no marker lights working. Now, fortunately, I can't figure out why the rear marker lights are not working. I tried some wiring configurations where I put it for lighting function 1, where obviously we have the number board on. Even though in reverse, the number board's still on, which is fine. If I wanted to activate the forward marker lights,
light mode active.
I will need to go to the light mode activation.
Sound mode active.
So it's not as simple as I thought it was going to be. For me to do the LEDs I wanted to do, I'll have to completely disassemble the breadboards that the LEDs are attached to, and I don't really want to do that. If I want to have them go in series to be able to do how I want them to do, it's just not going to work, unfortunately. So if I want to go in reverse with the whole train, I would have to activate the light function and then go in reverse. And that's not a huge big deal. From what I learned from this process, since this is my first time doing it, I didn't blow out the LEDs, and I know I didn't because I detached and put them somewhere else. But for some reason, function 6 for lighting functions is not working for the rear marker lights to activate. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I really got most of the stuff that I wanted it to do. I'll go back to light function, turn off that. But what I really wanted to do is do this. So the LEDs do flash for the Dutch lights on the front. So that is pretty cool. Headlight works as should. And let's turn up the RPMs. Not sure if it's going to really go. Not sure why it's not going. There we go. I'm going to move the locomotive instead. And have it go to 21%. And as you can see, it's still got that GE chugging sound. And it pulls by itself my Silver Star without a problem compared to like Bachmann's ACS 64. They can't do what this locomotive does. But yeah, I really love that GE chugging sound. Really, really cool stuff. We have the original bell. I don't have the E-bell. I really like the original bell on these. And even by itself, it can push a train. Full 8-car train of the Silver Star. What I will need to do is get a lighting kit for the baggage car, since most of the time when these P42s are running, I almost call them Gevos. They will be pulling a train most of the time. So when I get my next like 3 P42 DCs, what I plan on doing is to have another one. If I make sure the wiring is right next time, maybe I can get the rear marker lights working. For some reason, they're not working this time though. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I really enjoy it. I think it does what I want it to do. For some reason, the amphiletes derailed while going in reverse. I don't know why. I wasn't really going fast at all, but what do you expect? These are probably amphiletes that need long shank Katy couplers and whatnot. Anywho, yeah, it's a really, really, really nice locomotive. I think Athearn did a really good job. Platform-wise, it is a pretty great locomotive. Now, some people are like, why did you get TCS WOW kit for it and not get a regular Tsunami 2 equipped one? Well, here's the thing. I don't want to spend around $300 for a diesel. Not just one diesel. So I'd rather buy DCC ready and get the sound decoder that I want for it. And in my opinion, the TCS WOW sounds better with the Gevo, I think it's 7FDL16, if I'm mistaken. And it's the version 2 prime mover that's on the decoder. So you can go in, change your prime mover, and when you get your prime mover and you want to set up your P42, you go to GE and you go look for the 16 version 2, so, or locomotive 2, and it sounds exactly like pretty much the real thing. Although if I got scale sound speakers, I could probably make it have a more bassier sound, and then it sounds a lot more like the real thing. But even without, the speakers from Scale Sounds, they sound really great. So, yeah, it's a really good project. This is my first locomotive, so it is what it is. Well, for Athearn, and especially the P42. But there'll be 3 more coming. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and see if I can get for function 5 and for the other P42 and another P42 to just have the rear marker lights turn on, and possibly the front as well if I can have the function 6 pad working. But I'd rather have one do the forward marker lights and the other one do the rear marker lights. I also want them to be interchangeable in service. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, there's 3 more coming. They are phase 4. They will match pretty much the same paint scheme as you see here with these lovely Amfleet coaches and the view liners in the rear. So, I got 3 more coming, and I plan on getting 3 more of the same kits to do the same thing again on here. So, as you looked at earlier in the video, take your time on this, test your wiring, especially for your outputs. I tried initially to do the rear marker lights and the headlight to be, fused together on the same forward light pad, and it didn't really work. It only had the rear marker lights working and not the headlights, which was strange, but I guess, usually on my other models, same as Broadways, especially steam engines. And the Walthers F40 PH that I did, I had all the LEDs in series individually. This one, I couldn't do that, unfortunately. I mean, I could, but it would take a lot more time, and I didn't want to take too much time on it. So, yeah, it's a really nice locomotive. I like the depth flashing ditch lights. The horn sounds amazing when you get the K5LA.
Night mode.
And, if I wanted the train going reverse, I could have the rear, the marker lights turn on and the train can go in reverse. So, pretty cool.
Sound mode active.
I just have to activate the light functions for function 5. The downside with TCS is that you can't do every single lighting function to be mapped. So if I go to the lighting functions and I wanted to change pad 1 to pad 5 to be activated, or function 5 to be activated by function 0, I can't necessarily do that without, I guess, going into the function stuff. So I'll probably have to see. I'll have to look at the CVs. You could probably go into the CVs to get function 5 to operate for the reverse light. So I'll have to figure it out, and then possibly I could probably figure out how to get the rear marker lights to work and do it the same thing with function 6. So yeah, it's definitely something I gotta figure out. But unfortunately, pink purple. Okay, pink purple's F5, and then green brown. Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to play with the CVs and see if I can get something to work. I'll probably come back to this locomotive at some point to see if I can get the rear marker lights to activate on function 6 or on something like that in the lighting controls. At first they were working and there was no problem until I rewired them to something else to work together, but path of least resistance when it comes to electronics. They chose one LED rather than two LEDs, and then when I try to put it to something else, for some reason it's not working. So this is, again, it's not 100% success as I wanted it to be, but in time I'll probably figure out how to make it a success the way I want it to. Anyways, guys, this is Pensy Joe signing out again for this TCS WOW sound for this Athearn Genesis P42DC, and I'll see you guys in the next video down the line. Bye now.
By the shore, hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear the lonesome hobo squall, riding through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. Now here's to Daddy Claxton, may his name forever stand, and may he be remembered in the courts throughout the land. When his earthly race is over, let the curtains round him fall. We'll carry him home to victory on the Wabash Cannonball. Oh, listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodland to the hill and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear the lonesome hobo squall, riding through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball.